Hey, Greg here, Part of Got Scott behind the camera, and we're continuing our little discussion about Wurmwood. This is our third video, and we're going to talk about specifically his control elements. We're going to talk about his feat, which is called Black Roots, and we're going to talk about a spell that he has called Stranglehold. Something we're not going to talk about because we're going to do a separate video for it is Hellmouth. So, first, the feat. Black Roots reads, Wurmwood's control range becomes a forest. That's huge. 14-inch forest on the table centered on Wurmwood's base. Another thing that is part of the feat, but is very minor because it rarely comes up, is that enemy models that become knocked down in Wurmwood's control range, suffer 1 point of damage. Black Roots last for 1 round. So let's take a look at the table here and how big 14-inch control area forest is, and I'll show you just how hard it is to do damage to the circle player's army when Wurmwood's got his feet up. So this is Wurmwood here in the middle. And these little Legion Fury tokens out here are the edge of the forest. So you can see that's an enormous distance of forest that's covered. I've got Lanissa up here because she's has important function during the feat. She has Prowl, so not only is she deep within the forest, she's also stealth. And she can have up her Windstorm ability, which removes Pathfinder from enemy models within 9 inches of her command. So if this storm wall was here, say, ready to maybe like walk in or trample in and attack my pureblood, well, now he's within Lanissa's command of 9, and he no longer has Pathfinder, so he can only advance 2.5 inches into the forest, or trample 4 inches into the forest. With 4 inches, he might be able to get 3 inches into the pureblood to shoot him, but he's not going to be able to get into melee with him.
If he tramples, he can't do it. No shooting after trampling.
Well, I mean, if he tramples, he won't be close enough to make melee attacks on the pureblood. So that's an enormous, huge part of the table that is covered by his feat. You can expect to see his feat most times in the second or third turn. It's a fantastic feat for denying any sort of counter strike you might have, or to prevent you from making an alpha strike if you have like a super strong range list or that type of thing. Because, as we know, you can only see through 3 inches of forest, so you're only going to get a little tiny bit in to see or to shoot, and you're not going to be able to do much damage to his army. So very protective. It can make his force much more aggressive to give him the alpha strike, or to set up a very strong assassination run, or to be used to give him a scenario advantage where he's going to hop onto a flag or into a zone on turn bottom of 2, say, score, and you're going to have very little ways to get in there to contest, and he's going to score again, putting you on severe scenario pressure. There are a number of things that can get around the forest and around Lanissa's ability. Ghost Walk is very good because Lanissa doesn't shut it down, so you can advance or run as far as you can normally can. Incorporal doesn't stop that, and actually Lanissa's Windstorm ability does stop flight as well. So if you have flight and you're not within 9 inches of Lanissa, then you can still go your total distance. If you can kill Lanissa, then that shuts down her Windstorm ability, and then you could activate, say, the Storm Wall in that particular case, and he could do his trample or move his full 5 inches into the forest. But you have to remove her first. So that's his feat. Extremely strong, very frustrating. A lot of the times you're going to want to just wait it out. You're on a position so you can't gain a scenario advantage or can't alpha you and destroy the important parts of your army. So now we're going to talk about one of his control spells called Stranglehold. Stranglehold is a range 10, cost 2, POW 11 offensive spell. And a model damaged by Stranglehold forfeits either its normal movement or its combat action during its next activation as its controller chooses. So that's very strong because it's not shakeable. So you can tap a Colossal with it or Gargantuan, and it's going to have to forfeit either its movement or its action. Another thing that makes it very strong is he has a wicked awesome arc node in Cassius. And now Cassius is a solo, so he activates separately from Wurmwood. You can run Cassius to wherever you want him to be to arc node. Wurmwood can activate. He can cast Stranglehold through Cassius as long as he's in his control area. And then he can cast Dark Path, which is 2-cost spell, allowing him to place Cassius completely within 2 inches of himself, keeping his little buddy, or his little arc node, safe. So, Stranglehold. When, say, we want to get this Stormwall Strangleheld, he's scaring me with his big scariness. I'm going to bring out Brenos here because he has an interesting interaction with Stranglehold. So the Stranglehold is a range 10 spell. So we'll say that Cassius is already in range. Wurmwood, say he wants to armor debuff the Colossal to make sure the Stranglehold hits. He's going to put on Curse of Shadows. He's going to spend 3 Fury. He's going to target the Stormwall. He's going to hit the Stormwall. He's going to hit him with Curse of Shadows, making him -2 armor. So he's down to 17 or down to 20.
-2?
With Arcane Shield, yeah. So say 20 with Arcane Shield. Then he's going to fire a Stranglehold. He's going to hit relatively easily. And then it's going to be dice off 9 if he's got Arcane Shield, or dice off 7. So if he does any damage whatsoever, the Colossal is going to have to forfeit his normal movement or action in the next turn. He can do that to a heavy. If he has 10 Fury or like 9 Fury or something like that, he could potentially Stranglehold 2 of your heavies. That's not a lot of fun. Brenos, it has an interesting interaction where he has a spell. It's range 10. It's POW 14. Magic ability 7. And it's totally boostable. So he can advance within 10, target the storm wall, hit him, do some damage, but it's AoE 4, and the AoE remains in play for a round. So if you've strangleheld this storm wall, it's going to have to forfeit its movement or its action, and the little AoE that Brenos leaves prevents any ranged attacks from being made while you're anywhere within the AoE. So he can't stand still and shoot now, and he has to move and forfeit his combat action, and that's about all he can do, right? That's a very huge advantage in a game where a model is like 38 points or something like that, half your list almost. So that's Stranglehold, and the feat, they're both very powerful control elements. They're strong in terms of scenario. They're strong in terms of attrition, because if your heavies are not capable of charging things or beating them up or doing any of that cool stuff that you like to do with your heavies, it's going to be a problem. Ways that you can potentially mitigate Stranglehold is get the target's armor up high enough that it's very difficult for it to crack the armor, get its defense up high enough that it's difficult enough to hit, or make sure that it can't be targeted by spells in some sort of way. Easy enough if you're playing Menoth, not easy enough if you're playing some other factions. And I've sort of already talked ways about dealing with the feat, with some movement abilities, getting rid of Lanissa, waiting it out. We'll probably do a separate video on specific counters to Wurmwood within the meta. So that's Stranglehold and the feat. Look out for other videos on Wurmwood. He's a bastard.